Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today on Face Off we are asking which one of these two android-related stories do you think is better, the android invasion or the androids of Tara? Now, the interesting thing is, I want to point out that it was actually this Face Off idea that led to me coming up with the Face Off series. It was me pondering, I wonder if I did a poll on this, what would happen? Since both of them, have android in the title, and they both have androids heavily involved in the story. I was curious how that would go. So it was actually this idea that led to me creating the Face Off series, at least the initial idea for it. So I definitely want to give it a shout out for that. Now, I didn't do this one first. I've waited a while before I did this one because I'm going to be honest, I kind of figured the answer would be one-sided. And I really like asking ones that I feel might be a little closer. But this one I kind of figured I knew how it was going to go, which is indeed how it went. Now, between the two, for me, I do prefer the android invasion. I think it's a better story. While I think android invasion is the weakest of season 13, I do think season 13 is just an amazing season, probably objectively the best season the show has ever had. Aside from a couple flaws like the Brigadier obviously not being there, that's an elephant in the room. And one or two other things that aren't coming to me at the moment. The eye patch, the bit with the eye patch and the guy needing the eye patch is kind of weird how that plays out. And Benton and Harry deserving a better send-off. Other than that, it's a great story. I like the idea of it. I like the idea behind the story. I think it's executed well. I think the cast acted well. Of course, I love the scene when Tom's being interrogated by Eye Patch Guy when he's got the newspaper up. I've talked about that before. It's a really good story. Androids of Tara is an interesting one for me because the very first time I watched it, it was one of my favorite of season 16. It's a really good story, I thought at the time. But then on rewatch, I was really disappointed with it. It just didn't do as much for me. My biggest issue, and it's a big one with this story, is that I feel like Romana is relegated back to damsel in distress heroine who needs the doctor to protect her. And I don't like that because I feel like Romana as a Time Lord should be better than that. She's utilized far better in earlier stories and later stories. Here she just feels like, help doctor, I need rescuing. Yes, I've been rescued. Oh, I've been captured again. So she's constantly getting captured and then it just doesn't work for me. Now part of this, of course, I got to give Mary some credit. Mary's really playing, if you think about it, like 4 different characters in this story because she's playing Romana, she's playing the princess, she's playing the android impersonating Romana, and she's playing the android impersonating the princess. That's a lot of different things to be doing. So she's having to be damsel in distress as Romana a bit. She's been having to play damsel in distress as the princess a bit. And it just kind of wears on me because I don't like when the companions are constantly regulated to that role. I get it sometimes, but I don't know why it rubs me the wrong way in this one. At least the last time I watched it, I really do need to give it another watch. So that was another reason this one hadn't been done in a while. So I had originally wanted to wait until I rewatched it. I just hadn't been in the mood to rewatch it. So between the two, while I think neither of them are perfect, I do think Android Invasion is objectively better, and I prefer to watch it myself. So there are a couple things I like about Androids of Terra, though. I do like that it has the guy who played the pilot in the Macroterra back. He makes a really good villain. I really enjoy him in this. And I like the fact they actually find the piece of the key right at the beginning. It's just that everything else happens and the doctor has to deal with it. And I like when the guy is shooting at the doctor after he tells him he'd let the doctor come out safely and he starts shooting at him. The doctor's just like, liar! Ducks back in. I don't know. That's funny. Tom is, of course, great this one. I think this is also the story where when he's fishing, he's like, do you mind not standing on my chest? My hat's on fire. I love that. I love those little Fourth Doctor witticisms and stuff like that when he says those random things. It's one of the reasons why he's my doctor. I love that. That's what I think of when I think of the doctor. Would you mind not standing on my chest? My hat's on fire. I love that. Let's see what some of you guys had to say about it. Now, according to the poll, we had 141 votes. 61% voted for the Android Invasion. 25% voted for the Androids of Terra. Or Tara, I forget which one it is. And 14% voted for a tie, I don't care, or I don't care for either of them. So 61% voted for the Android Invasion, and again, that's kind of how I expected it to go. Seemed like it's a better thought of story. Season 13 is definitely a better season than season 16 overall. So that's kind of what I was expecting. And we have a few comments from here. Bananas Are Good says, while they're both the weaker stories for their seasons, in my opinion, I would definitely go for Android Invasion. Had the VHS, so it's pretty nostalgic. Love the first half with the eerie fake village, which I managed to find on Google Earth. And someone who lives there has a homemade Dalek in their garden. That's pretty cool. I love a story with lots of location work. Me too. And the cliffhanger to part 2 is classic. Just the ending is quite weak and the villains are forgettable. I agree with that. Watch the Bramble. Ow! I told you to watch the Bramble. Yeah, I don't find the actual villains that are behind everything that memorable in it. Phil Owens says, got to be the Android Invasion, despite the plot holes. I mean, the Tom, Sarah Jane team firing on all cylinders, the final appearances of Benton and Harry, and that killer episode 2 cliffhanger. What's not to love? Shamrock Particle says, it's like comparing 2 diseases, but I'll go for the Android Invasion, as it has actual atmosphere for the first half. There's more memorable in it to talk about either way, and is that finger loaded? Gets me every time. Eye Patch, hostility circuits, and the Brigadier's replacement issues are a given, but pale next to what does Terra have? The novelty of getting the 4th piece early, and if only they rolled the end credits at that point. The laser swords were dumb. The Terran would otherwise be a beast is awful. That's what? I need to watch that. I don't know what he's talking about. Check that. The Terran Wood Beast is great if you, on initial viewing and are completely unaware, want to spit out your drink and have that tomato juice staining your floor 12 feet away after laughing at how ridiculous it looks. And if I want androids, I'll watch Star Trek The Next Generation because I couldn't find Crichton's favorite show on Droid Flicks. Okay. If I want really good androids, I'll watch Fort of Doomsday despite its plot holes. That's another good one. I like Fort of Doomsday a lot myself, actually. I probably like Fort of Doomsday better than both of these, actually. Underrated story, Fort of Doomsday. Steven says, I really like both, but Androids of Terra being an homage to a somewhat forgotten tale makes it less accessible. I wonder what tale that is. I've never thought of Androids of Terra being an homage to a forgotten tale. I wonder what tale that's supposed to be. Android Invasion, honest, feels like it could have been in the early Pertwee era like Season 7. Even in concept, at least, not necessarily in execution, all the conspiracy. The Flyattractor, one of my patrons, says, I voted for Terra. It's just a bit more fun with its swashbuckling and has K9 in it. K9 will always get a win for me. I do love me some K9, especially John Leeson K9. Hudson Media says, the Android Invasion is elite tier, no questions asked, it's so underrated. Paul Bailey, another fellow YouTuber, says, I have to say the Android Invasion. I love Tom Baker and Elizabeth Sladen together and the last appearance of Sergeant Benton and Harry Sullivan. The Androids of Terra I consider to be the weakest story of Season 16. I don't agree with that because Season 16 also has a certain squid-related story in it that's pretty terrible. But I do understand Androids of Terra being a weak story for the season. The only good thing in it is Tom Baker and Mary Tam. The rest of it isn't that interesting. I watch it while I'm watching the whole season, but it's a weak story. And Matt Moore says, Android Invasion is okay, Terra's great. And then Jeremy Duncan says, Androids of Terra was my first Baker story. That being said, both of them are kind of garbage. Ta! Yes, as much as I have issues with Androids of Terra, it's still not my least favorite from Season 16. Of course, Season 16 has Prowl in it, and we know how I feel about Prowl. So yes, the popular vote was for Android Invasion, 61% voting in favor of it, which is, again, what I expected, and I agree. I prefer Android Invasion over Androids of Terra, though I think I like Fort of Doomsday better than both, personally. So, I would like to know what you have thought of this video, and if this turned out kind of how you expected it to as well. Hard to beat a Season 13 story, right? So comment down below and let me know your thoughts. Other things to do, click the like button and the subscribe button. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me that way. There is a link to that down in the description below, as is my P.O. Box if there's anything you would like to send me, and a link to my Amazon wish list and my Amazon UK wish list as well. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.